Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. I'm your humble host, Julian, and with me today we have America's Most Wanted when it comes to panels. We have Brianna.
Hello.
We have Kenny.
Cheers.
And Logan.
Hi.
And this is a special deep dive review of WandaVision. We've been watching every episode. We've been, expressing our thoughts on it, giving theories, the whole nine. And speaking of which, there are 9 episodes. You see how that ties in? There are no mistakes. So everybody, I know we've all enjoyed this because we're doing a special episode just for the WandaVision show. This one, I was a big fan of this final episode, but want to get a quick, let's just say impression, not too deep, but just a quick impression from each of you, what your overall thoughts were. Brianna, what was your takeaway from this episode 9?
Well, I guess just a quick overall bird's eye view. I mean, I liked it. I think it was obviously set up to be a pretty action heavy type of episode, which, shouldn't surprise anybody. But yeah, it still had some emotional beats, and I feel like it wrapped up a lot of stuff, but also set up a lot of stuff. So that's kind of typical Marvel.
Very true. Very true. Kenny, what were your, quick takes on it?
I pretty much echo Brianna. I think it answered a lot of the questions we had. It gave good closure, to I think Wanda's grief and giving her, showing her growth, and then setting up the connections to the Doctor Strange and the multiverse, and and giving us a place to go. So
very good. Yeah. There's so much to unpack. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Logan, what was your thoughts? Did it meet expectations? Did it leave wanting?
Yeah, no, it definitely met them. And a little bit even better than I had hoped. I mean, I was always wondering who was going to come in. Was somebody going to come in and kind of save the day and stuff? But no, to the showrunner's credit, this everything was Wanda's. Wanda won it. Wanda did it. Wanda, overcame everything. And it was truly her story and her story alone, without any help. They managed to set up a lot of good mysteries and continuations, and I still think the setup for Monica Rambeau was fantastic. And I really look forward to seeing where they take her and in what series they take her in next, because she could show up anywhere, and that's really kind of exciting. They told a cohesive, story of getting over grief and coming to terms with it in a very Marvel way. And there was just a catharsis at the end of it. I don't know that the story's done, because they left a lot of plot holes and lines to pick up, but it felt complete in a way.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the word I was going to use, catharsis. There was definitely a healing that went through, because again, like we said in the earlier episodes, she never actually got the chance to grieve. And if you think about the timeline, it was just horror after horror. So you want to go over a few quick things, just some high-level notes that I had taken. First of all, let me ask a question. Is this too close to X-Men's Dark Phoenix? Because I saw a lot of the same beats when it came. And now, forgive me, have you guys seen the last X-Men Dark Phoenix at all?
I didn't see it.
Kenny, you saw it?
I did.
Kenny,
I did, and I could see. I guess I could see some similarities, but I think it's one of those where they don't jump out unless you try to look for them. So for me, they didn't jump out, but because I've always seen the Scarlet Witch character differently. Like they do have similar powers, but they're from different backgrounds. So like Wanda's is magic. The Dark Phoenix is not magic. It's like,
celestial.
Yeah. So
true.
To me, that's to me, that's enough. There are enough differences that I've never just automatically compared the two characters.
True, and again, don't get me wrong. Let me just describe a scene for Logan and Brianna, and you tell me if this sounds familiar at all. At the end of X-Men: Dark Phoenix, the last in a diminishing return franchise from Fox, essentially an alien came to Earth because the Phoenix was living in Jean Grey, and they sensed it. They tracked her down, and they said, "We want that power." And the leader of this group started to suck the power out of Jean Grey. And at the climax, Jean Grey said, "You want the power, take it all." And then the power just totally overwhelmed her while they're flying in the air, by the way. So, yeah. So Kitty, that's
crossover.
Yeah, but
that sounds pretty simple.
That's what I thought they were doing in that scene in WandaVision.
But that's not what they were really doing.
No, they didn't go that way at all. And I was like, oh, okay, here's the overwhelm scene. Sure, fine. But they didn't do that at all. And
Sure, no. And again, don't get me wrong, different stories, but the visuals, the actual, it's almost like when you see the past 10 superhero movies where there's a blue light that shoots up into the sky with whirling garbage around it. It's kind of like a go-to. And seeing two people at odds floating in the air, one sucking the energy out of the other one, whether or not it's a fake lead, just seemed very a little on the nose.
That stuff doesn't bother me. So let me clarify that in that I am not that kind of moviegoer. Like, I could literally sit and watch the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe and not care if they use the same scene and everything, just because I watch movies for entertainment and to get away from, just to get out of my own mind and just to relax. I rarely watch movies to make me think. Just because I have to think all day long. I mean, in the cyber world, like, my brain goes all day long. So when I come home or when I go out, I want to just relax. I don't want to have to think. I just want to enjoy and sit back. And that's why I enjoy movies like this. That's why it's, for me, like, that stuff doesn't bother me at all.
Escapism. I understood. No, that makes sense. And again, completely.
But I know that's not everybody.
No. Nobody's everybody. That, and again, I think everybody gets something. I'm just always hypercritical because that's my jam. And I see so many movies and I obsess over these small details. When I do see repeats, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the dolly shot. Or yeah, that's the that's the 360 bad boy shot. Everything is a reference to something else. And again, don't get me wrong. Having a scene that is similar to another scene does not make it bad or good.
Yeah.
It's just, I like to point at and say, they did the thing. You see the thing? But that in and of itself, no, it was a good fake out. Let's talk about the fake out. Okay, so while Wanda is fighting Agatha, in the sky, and she's getting, withery as the energy is being drawn from her, and she starts throwing these, I guess, magic bolts, to use a, what is that, LARPing phrase? Thunderbolt. It did seem like she was missing. she did seem like she was missing a lot. Like she was really going wide on some of those shots and hitting the barrier. And then we come to see at the end reveal, which was a very cool reveal, by the way, when the camera's kind of panning around her, the ruins are what she was creating the whole time. And that's a perfect callback to when she was trapped in the basement and Agatha monologued and said, don't you know when you have ruins, only the one who casts the ruins can be in power in that given space. So that was a clever turn. What were your thinks on that? Did you guys see that coming, Logan?
No. I noticed at the time that it does, she keeps missing a lot. Like, why do they keep focusing in on the misses? But I didn't put together that she was actually like carving those runes kind of in the the thing, I was still actually on the fact that, okay, they're going to do the overwhelm with magic kind of thing. Here we go.
Yep.
She'll say, okay, take it all. And, you can point to any one of 100 shows that do that, and it overwhelms the bad person and they blow up and you'll all survive. Yeah. So I was still focused on that. I didn't put together what she was doing on the walls.
Which is a good misdirect.
Totally. It's fantastic.
For cynical, jaded people like me, I'm going down one road, and for optimistic, people that are just enjoying the moment, like Kenny, it was, an enjoyable experience. Brianna, did you see the ruin card being thrown down?
I did it, and I was actually a little mad at myself because, like, usually when stuff like that happens, I try to be like, okay, they're obviously pointing it out, like when it was in Agatha's basement. Like, usually I try to remember, like, oh, that'll come up later. And for some reason, I just didn't think about it. And then obviously, but that's what made it so great, in the moment. And I had no idea what was happening. So.
Very true. Yeah, it was again, very clever, very clever. Now, just for clarification, is it runes or ruins? I think I'm calling it ruins. I'm calling it a ruin, like an artifact.
Yeah, no, it's runes. RUNES.
RUNES. Gotcha. You know what? I got to read up on my wiki.
It's all right.
I have several video games that can help you also.
Yes, that sounds like another episode. Absolutely. Let's go back just beat by beat. This episode starts off where it left off in episode 8, where Agatha is holding the children hostage and bestows the name upon Wanda as the Scarlet Witch because she's using chaos magic. And then, callback, Wanda does the car trick that she did in Civil War and sideswipes her with a Buick. And then she goes into the house, and then she goes, she walks up, and you see the boots under with no body attached, but
which was that supposed to be like a Wizard of Oz type of imagery, like the
awesome.
witch shoes under that. I was like,
that is exactly
that's pretty clever.
That was fantastic.
I like that a lot. Yeah,
very clever, very clever. And it gets so many references, to old movies, to other movies. Just again, craft and just dedication to making a complex but enjoyable story as I've seen in a while. But now let's talk about, and as soon after that, White Vision shows up. And because, Wanda doesn't know that White Vision, Vision was reconstituted as a militarized weapon, and she goes up to embrace him, and he starts to crushing her head.
I think it was also that it also made me wonder if she didn't know that her vision, because she hadn't, since he left that during the Halloween, she hadn't seen him since then. So when I first saw it and she started talking to him like he was Vision, it made me think that maybe she thought that was her vision. But I think it was more like you were saying that she probably recognized him and thought that he might be back to life. So,
well, and anything like that would give you pause if you saw, because I know she didn't probably think it was the reconstituted Vision. Maybe she just thought it was the. I definitely she didn't think that it was the militarized version. She probably thought that, not to be corny, but the ghost of Vision had come back.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't look like Space Ghost already, but he came back, and she's like, Vision. And
my only catch in that scene, and they I mean it's a movie thing, right? Like they do it for the dramatic effect, but you when he grabs her head and starts squeezing, you hear cracking, right?
Oh yeah.
He does not need to take that long to crack her head. Like literally, he could have done it one-handed and swished and be done.
Yeah.
So I get it's there for the dramatic effect.
Dramatic, yeah.
But it's like, but it's why like it should, like I feel like it should have been something else. Like, and I guess that's one of the little critiques I have like in these kinds of movies is when they go for the dramatic effect of like, oh my God, are they gonna, is he gonna kill her or not? And then somebody comes in to save him, and it's like, Well, he could have just, like that, but he didn't.
Hollywood.
Well, yes.
That was probably like the cinematographer or the director saying like, okay, we really need this like hero moment, like right there, right in the action. Let's make it a few seconds.
I think you're absolutely right. It's annoying and it's overused. And in the real world, or whatever, if this was the way I would do it,
Marvel
never
real
do it.
world.
But I think the problem is whenever a movie does that and does it right, it is such an abrupt shock and just, incredible lightning bolt. It changes everything about what's going on, and it just knocks the entire audience kind of off base and off kilter. So that as much as it's definitely makes the most sense that, yes, if you were here to take her out, you go, you take her out, and you move along. Done, snap. That's it. Not to quote Thanos. But yeah, like the choice for that to do in a show is just such a bleak, stark, significant choice that it I don't know, it's that movie magic versus reality, and it's just one of those times I feel like where, if you're gonna do it, you've really got to be like prepared for doing that.
And to give you a perfect comparison, in Terminator did not start monologuing before he tried to kill Sarah Connor. As soon as he identified her, he was just opening fire. And that's what would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would have even landed. He would have just started, doing his power beam right at her the second he saw her. You don't go up and approach her and say her name and take her gently, cradle her head into your hands. Yeah, you just right off the top. And to be again, in the real world, there would be no dialogue. If you're a weapon, you just start blasting everything. And he engaged in dialogue with Vision, one. So
it could be, he did say whenever he's like trying to crush her skull, he did say that they told her, they told me you were powerful.
Yes.
So that could have been like out of an abundance of caution that he didn't immediately start firing away. Because, if you don't know how powerful they are, you don't know if they can tell you're coming or,
A sneak attack is a valid attack.
Yep.
Yeah. Done. There they go. And again, I'm not going to try and think what a synthesoids program would be, but yeah, it did. See, Kenny, you're getting cynical and you're starting to hyperanalyze. See, you spend too much time on the channel.
I think that was the only real thing.
Yeah. Well, wait,
yeah.
We'll get to some more. We'll see.
We'll see.
So I have a similar one for that same time. Like it was very, I don't know if it just seemed a little too formulaic of like a witch versus a witch and a synthesoid versus a synthesoid. But it's like, obviously, again, we knew the setup. We knew that was going to happen, but it still was like, this just seems convenient, like two perfectly matched people with two perfectly matched people. So
it did seem like a wrestling match. And callback, they said that was one of the things I did not really fully appreciate during the Halloween episode, where Vision said he was dressed up as a luchador, just a Mexican wrestler, and it did kind of feel like they were in a tag team wrestling match, But speaking of which, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I did like the scene, again, talking about callbacks, when the military comes into the actual space and they strike a Incredibles pose. Yep. Remember in Incredibles where the whole family unites and they strike that pose, it was very on the nose. And even Wanda says, kids handle the military. That's exactly what.
She's like, Mama will be right back.
I expect to see that image in editing there, Julian.
Yes, you can be sure, internet, to check our social. You will see a shot-by-shot comparison on the witch feet from Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
And the incredible scene. You will see all of them. And Logan just created a really cool one. And let's speak about the character, the story arc, and especially just with Vision. And he said something very profound and it was very endearing. And Logan, can you repeat what they were, the three things that Vision had referenced?
Yeah. So at the end there, And again, I think that was the part of this one that got me this week, the family aspect. Like,
Absolutely.
family's always a good one to, pull on those heartstrings and yeah, go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just kind of that. It almost seemed like we know White Vision is still out there, and whatever he did to him, he at least unlocked the data, whatever that means. But it did feel almost like an end of an era, an end of a character arc. I got real, Tony Stark is actually dying vibes from this. And just the way that he put it at the end, he's just that, I've been a voice but no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. And it's like, man, if that just isn't like just the most heart-wrenching, touching, succinct story of the cinematic universe's vision that you could just possibly imagine.
No pun intended.
Mhm.
And that was such a beautiful point, because Logan reminded me of that. And there was a slight addition that he said right before they went away that was also gut wrenching. Vision said to Wanda, we've said goodbye before," and then she finishes the sentence and says,
Which
then-
stands that we'll say hello again.
"We'll say
Yeah.
hello again," which is, I mean, that just gets
That
you.
was they had some really great lines.
Again, the entire thing, and Vision is so poetic anyway. I mean, he's so, and I said it before, unencumbered with cynicism, where everything he says is genuine and heartfelt, and you can have a romantic feeling dialogue with him without it being schmaltzy, because there's no subcontext. It's no eye roll, because everything about him is just almost naive in its purity. And so you get the sense that when he's saying something, if Tony Stark would have said that, you would have been like, "Oh, come on," or even Captain America, because, but, and also, okay, so let's talk about Monica Rambeau being trapped by the not Pietro.
We found Ralph.
It was Ralph.
Yeah.
Boner.
Boner.
That
was a great
that was a funny line though.
That
He's
was
like,
good.
boner. That was like such a Beavis and Butthead thing to say. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. But I still was disappointed. I was disappointed because
It was a huge setup.
I was like, it's a one-off. Like, I was so hoping that they were going to use this to like kind of start bringing the Marvel properties together. And no, it's like, nope, we're going to give him an enchanted necklace. He's just going to kind of look like, he's going to look like Quicksilver from the X-Men world universe. And there we go.
Which was a good fake out. But let me ask you, because I think one of us said that it may have just been an actor. Brianna, maybe that was you that, theorized that maybe it was just a guy playing Quicksilver or something. I remember one of us said that. No?
I don't think
No?
I said it in one of my theories. I said, I hope it's not.
Oh, well, hopes, yeah.
Way to jinx it. Good job.
Yeah. This is your fault. They
It's
listened.
my fault. They listened.
Yeah.
But I did like how she was able to like kind of take him, down.
Judo
But
flip.
it was a little quick, right? Like, when she tried to leave the room at first, he of course was able to get in front of her, quickly, and then he just pushes her like with a finger and knocks her across the room. And then when she goes to take him down, it was just like effortless,
Yeah.
no resistance on his part, and it's like, hang on, he was just like knocking her across the room, and he's super fast. So
Yeah, I was thrown by that, because it especially, I mean, because he was like, "You want to tussle again," and he comes at her all slow, and then she does the hip flip.
yeah,
Mid-air, couldn't he just adjust? Or
yes,
Oh,
he
yeah.
could.
yeah, interesting. Interesting.
So
Yeah. So there's number 3 thing that was a little Off-putting, Kenny. See, we're dragging you down. You can't escape.
Dude,
Listen, I feel
you're not supposed to do this to me.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go.
No.
You know? Join us. Okay.
Join the dark
The dark side.
Strong universe.
I did like how they brought back Vision's phasing ability into the actual combat.
Mm-hmm.
That was fantastic, wasn't it?
It was
cool.
Like, right off, as soon as they fought, it was just straight phasing into each other. I thought that was phenomenal.
Exactly. It whenever it's something like that, it kind of takes you out of the typical, punch, kick. It's you gotta there. It's 3-dimensional fighting where that you can float, drop through a floor and hold his arm in your arm. It's just I like that.
I'm not gonna lie that I actually love that their battle ultimately ended because of logic. Like
it was a very Vision thing, like Vision teaching.
It's like this is such a Vision. This is such a Vision thing. You're right. Good call. I loved that.
No, I love that entire analogy he had. The ship of Theseus. Where if you replace all the components, is it still the original thing? And it's like no. And he's like, I don't have the Mind Stone, so I'm not Vision. And then the WandaVision says, I don't have 1 ounce of original material because he's all just chaos. So neither of them were Vision. They were just, I guess, shadows of the former Vision, which was again. But you're 100% right, Kenny. When you have two, brilliant minds going at each other, it always comes down to a chess match or I'm just glad they didn't go with, and again, here's my cynical side. They didn't come down to a, what's that old conundrum about a cat in a box? Is it alive or is it dead?
Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
Yeah, cat.
Yes. One of those things where the computer will start to overload because it can't process.
Yeah.
But they did that to a bit because they were trying to send him more information and his systems are overloaded. We just have to let him go. Like, really?
Yes. So it was War Games.
Mm.
Yeah. It's learning. Literally, that's what they said in War Games. It's learning. Good stuff. And of course, Hayworth said he was losing control. And then, Wu steals a phone that they, conveniently leaves sitting on the desk.
And doesn't have security enabled on it, so he can just open and call.
And not to mention that while he's walking around handcuffed, nobody's looking at him.
Yeah, all the people in the room, nobody watches him saddle up to that desk and pop it in his pocket. And a paperclip, I guess, too.
I overlook all that for movie magic.
No, you don't overlook all of it, Kenny. I think you're being kind because we're bringing up stuff. You're getting there. Watch, because then let me ask you this: in the military, when you keep a person prisoner in a barn, do you just because you're on your own base? Yeah, when you're on your own base, do you literally just lock them in the barn and look the other way, or do you sit in the barn with them and keep them under guard? I'm wondering.
You keep them under guard. Like I just look at it as like, hey,
These are all convenient. These are all convenient devices that we use to get to the end. It's just again, hypercritical. I'm just throwing out stuff to make the internet mad.
Yeah.
But what I will say, there were a lot of them in this episode.
Well, I think that it's because they had to kind of get there. They had to kind of move things along because the pace really picked up. As soon as White Vision showed up, it was multiple conflicts going full speed. Speaking of which, when Agatha undid the cut the puppet strings of the townfolk, and they all started coming up to her, kind of like, why did you do this to us? And remember, we all had the thought that maybe, what's her name, Dottie, I think it was the
that blonde lady or whatever.
Yeah, she had a speaking part, but it wasn't really.
No, it was not what I thought it would be at all.
Well, she was another red herring. They're just like throwing people off the set. Like, is there something else there?
There you go.
Yeah.
I was reading Reddit today, and supposedly, I guess either in IMDb or somewhere, her character, even though she is listed as Dottie, her real character's name, because she's Dottie in the Wanda universe, but in real life, her name is like Sarah Proctor or something like that. And that's actually a Marvel character, like deep in the Marvel archives. Like that is a character. So it's like, so people are basically going, was she just a throwaway, or is that like one of those where Marvel worked it in case they want to use that character somewhere down the road? Because she was a witch. Sarah Proctor was like a witch. So it could be, people are like, oh, that means there could have been multiple witches that had maybe been in that town.
It would make sense. It would make a lot of sense, yeah.
But it could just be one of those where it's like they established her, you know, in this small, you know, nondescript way so that they could potentially use her down the road.
The only hiccup in that theory, which again is a good theory, is that she was glitching at a certain point. Remember when she smashed the glass in her hand and cut herself? I also remember when the neighbor was using the hedge clippers and he glitched and he started cutting through the cinder block wall. So I don't know if she would have that kind of a self-damaging glitch if she was of her own mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's nothing that says she was of her own mind. Agatha was the only one that was of her own mind. That doesn't mean that Wanda couldn't have taken over another witch.
That is true. I am wondering how Agnes got,
especially when
the in the force field.
They left a lot of.
She's a witch, so
yeah, and I think they left a lot of Agnes kind of out there, in that, I mean, you built her up kind of unknown, and then she just wants power for power's sake? I mean, look, besides being a little, you know, untrustworthy and prone to lying to get what she wants, like, I'm not even convinced from what I saw on screen that she was bad enough that it might not be a fine idea since she knows what to do with it. Like, you know, there was not a clear enough, you know, reason presented or villainous intent or understanding about what her purpose or point is. Like, it was almost to the point where it's like, well, yeah, I guess you could do that. I mean, she probably knows what's going on.
Yeah, actually, like this show in particular, it's almost like a shocking level of like, who is the actual bad guy? Like, it is kind of that neutral gray area. Because even that, going back to that scene with Wanda with all the people, like, they were truly suffering. Like, I wrote down the quote the old lady said, like, if you don't let us go, let us die. Like, they were not okay. So yeah, even if Wanda didn't do it on purpose, which was the whole thing of pitting her against Agatha, like, Agatha did it on purpose. Like, I mean, she still wrecked a lot of people's lives for, you know, a decent amount of time. So
yeah,
no, absolutely. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kenny.
I was gonna say, in the comic books, I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but in the comic books, Agatha is actually, or she becomes a mentor to the Avengers. So it's there. What we could potentially see is, I know we haven't gotten this far along yet, but we could potentially see if somehow Wanda's sons, you know, Billy and Tommy, come back, if they start like a young Avengers, because that's what, you know, Wiccan and Speed were part of the young Avengers. I could see potentially Agatha coming back and mentoring that young Avenger group, maybe.
Well, and to that point, they did set up several potential spinoffs. One, when she trapped Agnes as the nosy neighbor in her own little reality, they kind of glossed over that because Wanda did away with that bubble. So, what would Agnes be the nosy neighbor to?
Yeah,
that's real life, I guess.
She's going to be a 90s sitcom.
Yeah.
But two at the end, and let's talk about the two spoilers, not the two spoilers, but the two mid-credit and end-credit scenes. The first one, Monica Rambeau, after everything's gone down, is called into a theater to discuss some future opportunities. And it turns out that the person that she's talking to is a Skrull the entire time. So going back to that Captain Marvel, and also, Kenny, you can appreciate the what is it, that series that had the scrolls, the Secret Universe or
Secret
something?
Invasion
Secret Invasion. Thank you.
or
See,
Secret Wars, something like that.
right. And basically saying, did she say he wants to meet you or somebody wants to meet you? And then she pointed up. So I'm
Yep.
assuming that's Sam L, who's supposed to be on the ship
Yep.
as he, I think but you got thoughts, Logan?
Well, I was going to say it could also be.
Captain Marvel, maybe.
It could be no.
Well, they said he.
They said
He's
he.
waiting for you.
Okay.
But I'm thinking the male scroll, Ben Mendelsohn's character from there.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Oh, wasn't it like Talos or
Talos,
something?
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Talos.
Cool. Yeah.
I was wondering if it might be
And
him
Sonar,
still kind of up there.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. And the second one, she apparently set herself up with a nice little cabin on the lake. And she was sitting out there drinking coffee, which is, what any good person does. And while she was doing that, apparently her other self was inside reading the book of omens or the book of the
Darkhold.
dead.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a good callback to Doctor Strange.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, that being said, do you hear when she was reading it, you heard her children yelling to her in kind of a disturbing way, like, help me,
Yep.
I don't know what, but so it leaves that open that will definitely be something that she's trying to figure out how to manifest, I guess, outside of her barrier.
She's already figured that out.
Yeah. What?
That was the whole thing from like Doctor Strange, right? That's how he learned magic so quickly, is he learned how to basically manifest himself like on a different plane. So he would be asleep, but on an ethereal plane, he's actually there and studying.
right.
And so she's basically learned to do the same thing. Except she was awake.
No, absolutely no. She definitely got that, but I was talking about the kids, like.
So I actually think that's going to tie into Doctor Strange too.
Absolutely.
The Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think that's going to be part of how she comes to either find Doctor Strange or he finds her. It's all gonna be about Wanda's kids.
Yeah.
They even had that one line that mentioned like she is the only one that has more power than him without actually saying his name. But
Yeah, well, they said the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what
And
it was.
that's because the Sorcerer Supreme changes over time. Like as when it's time for the Sorcerer Supreme to pass on or move on, then it gets that mantle gets handed down to a new one, right? So the Sorcerer Supreme changes over time. So that's why they say because they know the Sorcerer Supreme has the time stone, of the Infinity Stone, so which is very powerful. So the fact that Wanda's character has the power that she does, she is technically more powerful than him.
She has that. Well, she said she has that portion of the Mind Stone still in her.
Yep.
So whoever pulled that out was right. But the other thing that was fun about that is if you listen closely, there's just the hint of the Doctor Strange theme from the first movie kind of playing in the background of that scene too, if you watch it again.
Yep, I'm going back to watch it again.
That's Logan. For those of us who don't know, Logan is a scorer. He's really he has got a great ear for scoring and sound design. So yeah, he would be the one to pick that out.
That's good.
Ears are one of his superpowers. So no, it was great. Now remember, I think back when we first started this whole thing, and I was referencing the source material about how the implications of creating children out of nothing and bringing Vision back from the dead were kind of dark. And what were your thoughts about when they after the battle, they went home and tucked their kids in for sleep right before they get, I guess, blasted into oblivion, through the door? I mean, I get it that they needed to wrap that up, but still, that was kind of dark in my opinion. Well, Logan, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that was probably one of the hardest scenes to watch for sure. Having a family of my own, I couldn't imagine having to choose that. But then again, that wasn't exactly how I created my family. So there are some differences there. And ultimately, as much as there was the darkness about, killing whatever they were, and no doubt they were family, it was all still about the healing and the letting go that Wanda needed to do in order to move on. And yeah, I think it makes it worse and harder even on her because she created them. That now it's not just letting go of Vision, it's letting go of the life they could have had, their kids, knowing a little bit of that. And, in some cases it could be, is knowing what that was like, having, a child hug you and call you mom, is that with, Vision, is that worse or better? Is that harder to get over? Does that leave a more lasting scar? Like, there's a lot of, she made it worse on herself trying to run away from it. But I think ultimately, as dark as it was, it tied into the story that needed to be told for Wanda's, like we said, catharsis, most importantly.
Two things, well, and that's an excellent point about her catharsis. We just mentioned that she's literally on her lake trying to bring these kids back. So did she, let go, or is she bringing that, or she's still holding on? And I have no doubts that Vision's going to reappear, maybe White Vision, and maybe he'll be, just the Vision 2.0, because he has the memories, I think, all up until Thanos. So
He should.
Yeah, he should. I'm curious why he just took off. But then again, Vision is known to just run when he's startled, like when he was born. Mm-hmm. And, he just started freaking out like robots tend to do. Going back to one of the things Brianna had mentioned, I do think that in regards to being a villain or a hero is not as clearly defined in this, other than Hayworth, he's a total jerk. But think about this. When Wanda was trapping Agatha in that role, and and Wanda's like, I'm sorry. And Agatha's like, no, you're not sorry. You're cruel. And Wanda smiles at her like, yeah, I am cruel. So, again, whether or not she was fully aware, she was manipulating people. And I think when she found out and she didn't stop it right away, that was selfish and self-fulfilling. I do think that she has some darkness in her. And again, she's not letting go of her children. She's cheating. She's, using the magic to get what she wants, despite what the consequences are. I think the lesson she really learned was, let me do this all over again without it going bad. Just putting that out there.
So a couple of thoughts on that. One is, I will say, so I watched it by myself earlier yesterday, and then watched it again last night with my wife. And at the end of the episode, my wife was like, I need to go upstairs and hug my son. That's just how much it, because she's we have a 2-year-old and one that's due in 3 weeks. So, I mean, it really, hit the heartstrings for her, and it did for me too. I mean, like Logan said, I couldn't imagine, what that would be like. But so my theory on her kids is, I think it's not that she's trying to cheat. Like, I don't think she's trying to cheat. I think it's that she said she doesn't understand her power, but she's going to. So I think that's part of what she's doing, is she's trying to understand. But I think in that understanding, it's like, is this even possible? Like, she doesn't know if the children that existed were truly real, or were they just this temporary manifestation. So think about, like, if she created them again, would she be creating them like as babies? Would she have to go through birth again? Or would they come back as they are? And I think that's what we hear is, I think as she's learning this magic, I think that's why you hear one of her kids scream out for her, is they didn't just disappear and they were created. They're just in a different reality right now, and she has to go find them.
Let's talk about.
I would agree. Yeah, I don't think she was trying to bring them back. I think, like Agatha said, she didn't know what she was doing when she did all this. And there are untold repercussions that will be happening because of it. And I think, like you just said, her hearing those kids, whether it's in a multiverse or another dimension or who knows what, is absolutely just where she's now opened herself up to.
And let's not even open up the can of worms of her having basically immaculate conception of twins and where that goes. Now, I do remember when she was, saying goodnight to the twins, she did say, "Thank you for choosing me." Kind of putting it out there that there was some sort of a randomness to it. It wasn't like she just created them completely on her own rules, that maybe there was. And what would have made it a definitive answer is if once the barrier closed in past them, they just turned into two other kids and just went running off or something like that. And by the way, were there other kids in? Was there a reference point where they said, "How come there are no children?"
Up until the Halloween
Vision did
episode.
say that. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That is interesting.
Then all of a sudden, kids started appearing.
Right.
Yeah, and again, I think that was one of my original theories, is that it was kind of like her subconscious was riding shotgun, and whatever she imagined was appearing, with a little nudging from Agatha in some aspects, but it was pretty much just like a lucid dream, where if you can imagine anything, it just starts to manifest itself, and again, the ramifications of that are dire. Anyway, I think this is a one and done. What are your thoughts? Brianna, do you think there's going to be a season 2, or is this it? And then we're going on to all the other series that Disney Plus is cranking out.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I feel like everything they're setting up though is like movie related, so I really have no idea. But I guess, yeah, wrapping everything up, I was just trying to think, like, was it worth it for them to do it this way? It's like 8 hours of content as opposed to the shorter ones. Movies are what, 2.5, 3 hours.
Unless,
yeah, like I thought it was worth. Yeah. Yeah, like I thought it was worth having it as this like long episodic thing. Like looking back at the very beginning of the story to where we are now, I think we learned a lot about a lot of different characters, and Wanda especially. So I think it was good that they took the time to do this and build up, and like it was Rambo's kind of origin story. So I mean, there is a lot there. So we'll see, I guess. I'm just interested to see. I think they're doing Loki. I don't know what that's going to be like, but it's like, is this going to spawn just, is every character going to have one of these? I guess my only fear is that, this seemed worth it, but if it turns into that Marvel machine of like, let's just crank one out every year, it needs to be a good, true story to be told, I think.
I am very optimistic, only in the sense that, again, because Disney's at the helm and they know storytelling like nobody's business. And in Kevin Feige's is involved in this, right? So
oh yeah,
you got the engine, you got the conductor, you got the track. I don't see any missteps happening. And to that point, I do believe that these are just long movies. They have a story and an ending, and they don't require a season 2. And I think the same is going to happen with Winter Soldier and Falcon, the same with Loki, the same with Hawkeye. I believe that these are kind of gap fill movies, but they offer so much because they allow you to digest so much information and set up so many alternatives. It's almost like they never took a break from movie making. In fact, they just slowed down the movie and are milking it out of us like crazy. Because, I mean, think about it. I guess a movie ticket would cost $12. But if the series goes on for 2 months and they're charging now, I think it's $8 a month for Disney, then you're paying 16. So they're getting their ticket for the movie. It's just a very slow moving movie.
And I would argue this wasn't, if this premise exactly as it was just cut together tighter in a movie length time, I don't think it would have worked as well. I don't think it would have had the same kind of Marvel bang. I don't think they could have pulled it off. And I think only because it was in this could they kind of look at it and go, yeah, you've got however many millions of people who watch this, and you break it out, it works out to a full ticket, and you can take the time and tell the more personal, less frenetically paced stories and really work it out. That being said, I don't think there's going to be another one anytime soon. If this were Disney of 10, 20 years ago, yeah, 3 sequels and a spinoff would have already been planned. Possibly 2 direct to movie, direct to DVD movies as well. But now, the way Disney knows when they have something good, and they know when they have the right people at the helm, and you look at a lot of their stuff, whether it's their animation in Frozen or some of the Marvel things that they're doing, like they're going just as fast as they need to, and they'll take the time and they'll do it right. And I think Feige, kind of said this in a few places before, but if there is not a story that needs to be told, they're not just going to tell any story they can. So, I see them having a bunch of other things to focus on. And if something comes up again, whether it be a movie, whether it be another, limited series, whether it's a direct to Disney Plus movie, because what do TV shows do after they end? They have a direct to TV movie, or they have on a special 90-minute reunion episode or something. Like, they can fill in things in the same trope with WandaVision, but not have to try and fill a whole nother series when they have so much else going on. So I'm taking this as kind of the series finale. And if we get something else, it won't be because it was just cashing in on what was done. It was because it needs to happen.
I am 100% with you. I think when you're in the position that Disney is in with all the intellectual properties that they have, you take your time.
Yeah.
And that is where I think the huge difference is between Warner Brothers and Marvel, is obviously, and everybody's been saying it, and it's no revolution that I'm saying this, is that, Warner Brothers in the DC cinematic universe rushed it. They tried to catch up, and instead of doing really, instead of doing a whole bunch of Jokers and just completely different separate movies and just killing it that way, no pun intended, they said, ooh, let's get that Avengers money. And Marvel's like, we already did that. Let's go back and just fill in some of the details, because we got all the time in the world, we got all the toys in the world, and we can do it as methodically as we want. You're not going anywhere. We're going to do a season. Wait a couple of weeks, and we're going to do another season. And you know what? We got 10 other seasons right behind it, ready to go. And we're not going to, cram them all at you. We've planned it out, and we know what we're doing. And again, that's the difference between, Feige and whoever, the Snyder verse, if you want to call that, whatever it was, that 5-hour movie's coming out with, which we will see. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, what are your thoughts, Kenny? Do you think this is a good one and done, or do you think?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
easily. This is so. The way I'm looking at all of these shows and the whole next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, these shows are I think are pretty much going to be one season only, and it's going to be that run, and it's all for the purpose of either setting up a new character or like bridging the gap to set up the next movie. So for example, like this series, WandaVision, was not just like we got the Captain, Rambo, the Monica Rambo, like kind of origin. This was Scarlet Witch's origin story, right? because Wanda has not been referenced in the MCU as Scarlet Witch whatsoever. That's what this set up. We now officially have the Scarlet Witch in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It also served to set up the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when that series is done, Falcon will be the new Captain America, and I think that's what they're setting up. I think Loki will probably set up the next Thor. Was it Thor: Love and Thunder? I think. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what all of these different series are going to be doing, is just either establishing a new character, because they're seeing that, hey, some of these more complex characters need longer backstories to be able to properly give them an introduction, and they're also like, let's use this to set up these bigger movies that are going to be in phase 4. So that's what I see. I don't think any of these upcoming shows, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, I think they're all
one and done.
Because I think like with Hawkeye, right? It's going to be
Renner
handing the mantle over to Kate Bishop. Mm-hmm. So, and then she'll become either a young maybe a young Avenger or something. So we'll see.
I think you're 100% right. And to use an analogy, I'm not a horticulturalist, but I've watched a lot of stuff on the internet, so I feel like an expert. Sometimes when you have a plant and you want to create other plants, you can take off shoots of it and replant those and grow an entire new one. Now, remember, all of this started with Iron Man, lightning in a bottle. They did not know that it would grow into this multi-billion-dollar universe. However, they studied the effectiveness of doing single characters, evolving them, and then coming together. This is essentially the same thing. They're taking WandaVision and, Wanda and Vision, separating them and starting all over again, rebooting the whole interest in these characters. And then you can build towards that, the Doctor Strange, the collaboration. But absolutely, there are nowhere they said, what was cool? Starting a whole bunch of individual movies and bringing them all together. But this time they're doing the same formula, just utilizing streaming as opposed to the theaters. And it's perfectly timed. I still think Disney had something to do with all this shutdown, because it's too perfect. It just works. It just plays right into what they're doing.
There's a conspiracy theory that doesn't get enough airtime.
Oh, yes. Yeah, let's put out that out there too.
No.
Let's blame
Julian. No, because that'll.
Yes.
Nope.
That was a joke. Internet. There is no conspiracy. It's just, having fun with the circumstances. But I do think that again, Disney they're just doing it right, and because they're not rushed, they can do it right and slow. There's an old expression I heard recently that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. There you go. So yeah, it seems like they have all these.
We say that in the military all the time too.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So that being said, they're doing it slow, they're doing it smooth, and it looks like they're cranking one season right after another, but they're just going along, steady pace, methodical, with purpose. It doesn't seem scattershot like that abomination that Warner Brothers was trying to do. And I'm sorry, Warner Brothers, but you haven't given us any shows to really critique. So we're all Team Disney here, Team HBO Max. Now HBO Max is Warner Brothers, right?
It is Warner Brothers, yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting for that check to clear. Anyway, I think that is something that they are learning. And again, I was a huge fan of Joker, easily one of my top 20 films of all time. But we need more of that. I don't want to see a Joker and then an Aquaman. That's kind of two totally different types of movie-going experiences.
I will ask, has anybody else noticed that for Falcon and Winter Soldier, right now it's only 6 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
It is only listed as 6, and I don't know if the run times or anything have been confirmed. But that's interesting. Because if it follows a similar format where they're 30 minutes or less, that could technically have been a movie.
It could have been.
And I also think the storyline is going to be much more straightforward, only because with Wanda there were so many moving pieces, and I don't know what the plot is going to be for Winter Soldier and Falcon Winter Soldier. I think that they're going to be, it's obviously a buddy movie, and where they start off antagonizing and then they come together in the end as brothers, and they'll do the obligatory, the bro hug, probably, embracing
They'll
and
do
hitting each other on the back.
From what was it, the Arnold Schwarzenegger? And,
yes, the Carl Weathers Schwarzenegger.
Yes,
yes, that's exactly what they're going to do. And you heard it here. You heard it here first, Internet. They're going to do the Predator dap, and that's yes. And of course, Zemo is going to be, or is it Zemo? Yeah, Zemo is making an appearance. So I'm sure that would be. That's going to be something interesting, because that's probably going to stir up a lot of emotions from Winter Soldier, because he was a puppet to Zemo for a little while there.
It's also going to be the first time we see like the actual like Baron Zemo as the character.
Yes. So it's the origin of Zemo.
Yep.
See,
so we'll see his actual costume and all that.
Just like and let's talk about Wanda's costume. I am curious about that. Going back to
that was fantastic.
Yeah. The origin of it and how it kind of was slowly materializing and manifesting itself, that was interesting. And so now she has her gear, and that's her official setup, because when she was reading, what's the book again? The book,
Dark Hold.
The Dark what?
Hold.
The Dark Hold. That's what the name of the book's, The Dark Hold?
I believe so.
It's bad.
I thought it was like Dark Souls or something like that. Maybe. I don't know.
It's all bad branding. I got to work with them on that. But yes, so when she was reading, she was wearing that outfit. So that's her. Those are her clothes now. That's like her Superman outfit.
Did you notice when she was fighting Agatha, and she went into her transformation of basically transforming, into the new Scarlet Witch costume? That was the exact same vision as when we went back in episode 8. 8. No, 8. And we see her touch the Mind Stone, and she has the vision of herself. So that what we basically learned is that when she touched the Mind Stone, the vision she was seeing was herself becoming the Scarlet Witch.
Well, yeah, but I think we all. And again, maybe I was assuming too much. I think we all knew that was going to be her, but
no, we knew that was going to be her, but we didn't understand, like, why was she seeing that at the time? Like, she didn't understand. And then it kind of, destiny fulfilled, so to speak, in the finale of WandaVision, that she becomes the person that she saw.
Yeah, and not to harp on it too much, but that's kind of exactly what happened with the Dark Phoenix. She literally saw herself becoming the Dark Phoenix, and her eyes lit up, and then she turned into the Dark. I'm just saying, but anyway, last thoughts, because this has been an awesome episode, and I definitely look forward to our next series that we're going to track and wrap this up. This has been, again, in the world of entertainment, when you have shows like this and they almost force you to want to talk about them, that takes me back to the days where we were all communing around water coolers and things like that, and wanted just to talk about what we saw the night before. So, and Logan, I think you gave it the official name, these is it episodic or is it serial? What do we call
these?
These are serialized. These serialized shows. Some people say they want to binge it. I'm a fan of the serialized show, because you get to have the conversation in between instead of one lengthy conversation at the end. So yeah, no, I'm great. Any last thoughts? Anything we didn't touch on regarding this long series of shows? No. Well, we've done it all. You see that, internet? We've broken down the show and we have answered all your questions. Matter of fact, leave some comments down below. If we missed out on something, or if you want us to do one of these on another series, you know, we're always taking requests. So it's always a blast doing these. And as always, we want you to take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.